Hey guys, this is Genie here, aka Mustached, and I'm here to review the video game Digimon Story Sleuth, Hacker's Memory. So, if you end up enjoying this review for this video game, then please consider joining my Patreon, but that'll be the second link in the description below. Any donations are desperately needed. Alrighty then. Now that that's out of the way, let's talk about Digimon Story Sleuth, Hacker's Memory. Now, before I dive in, as per usual, I do two separate scores for video games, and I felt the need to explain that because it has been a while since I've reviewed a video game. The first is story, and the second is gameplay. Those are the two main factors I particularly look at when looking at least current video games. This has worked solidly so far, so I will continue that trend unless there's a game that focuses only on one, but that hasn't happened quite yet, so here we are. Also, before I get into the story, it should be pointed out that yes, I have a bias towards Digimon. That shouldn't really surprise you. I started my channel with a Digimon game, one that I didn't particularly still like, but it should be pointed out that I am a fan of the Digimon series. So again, my view on this game will be a little bit more biased. And I want people to know that, actually. I want people to understand that as I'm reviewing this game. But I'm going to try my best not to be. But it can't be helped at certain points. So, with that being said, the other thing I will mention is that I find the story of this game really fascinating. And I don't mean the gameplay story, I mean the story of how this game came to the West. So, Digimon's Sleuth, the first one, came out to the West because a bunch of fans actually made the Change.org petition, and it actually got the attention of the directors. Yeah, they actually paid attention to a petition that was on Change.org, and people complain that Change.org petitions don't change anything. Ha! Proven wrong. Anyway, enough of gallivanting about that. It was really interesting to see that Digimon Story Sleuth would get a sequel, Hacker's Memory, that being. So, let's first talk about the story. So, the story follows our silent protagonist, which you, the player, can name. I gave him the generic given name. But nonetheless, you can name your tamer whatever male character you want, which at first I thought, that's weird. In the first game, they did have the option to go male or female, but I think I understand why they did that at the end, but we'll get to that in a moment, or later on in the story part of the review, which is, I'm only at the beginning of it. So, you're a human person, this human character at the main cover, and you eventually join the Team Hyundai, which is a hacker team dedicated to helping individuals with cases that come in. You go into the computer, you meet up with these people, you help them out, and eventually you come across your first Digimon. You get to choose between three. Either a vaccine, a virus, or a data type. You will not know what I mean if you're not a fan of Digimon, probably. There are three types. It essentially works like a rock, paper, scissors type of attitude, where one beats the other. That's essentially how it works. In a more basic, trying to describe it to everyone sort of way. And anyway, that is kind of talking about gameplay, and I'll talk more about that in a bit. But as you're journeying forth doing these quests, the story unfolds, and as it does, we see characters pop up from the first game, be like a little bit of remember, we had that game, but it starts to tell its own tale as these new hackers are getting into situations, whether it be memory loss or being injured, seems to be very typical. And dealing with the oncoming threat of the digital world interacting with the real world and bad Digimon interacting, and you trying to teach them lessons about, how to be civilized or whatever. So that's going on, and throughout the journey, each character, each of the main characters anyway, goes through their own character arc. And that's something I greatly appreciate in this game as well. And the subtitle, Hacker's Memory, comes into great effect, especially to the end of the game, because the first part of it's kind of like remember the first game a little bit, and it starts to diverge into it sort of seamlessly gets into the story pretty early on, having one of the characters, the younger sister character, dealing with a Wormmon and their interactions at the beginning of the game. So, we see how each character goes through a character arc, and we see how our character interacts with them. There are definitely moments in my Let's Play where I was a little bit frustrated or, doing whatever, having a little bit of joke as well. It was pretty obvious in the first game that one of the characters was attracted to the same sex, a female, and we see her in this game, and we see her very clearly continuing to express those feelings. And it's pretty fun to see that interaction, but for whatever reason, having that couple be prominent is fine, but on the counterpart to that, there's this character that seems to be the shy, meekly male character, and your character and his character seem to know each other fairly well, and in fact, the interactions you share with this character are very intimate, and they get even intimate further down the line. But again, as I mentioned, each character has their own character arc, so he's going through his own ordeal, as he's going through this whole thing about not feeling worthy enough. And at some point in the game, I want to say pretty late game, you have a chance to finally resolve his story arc, and there are three options, as there tend to be, and one of them literally says, something, 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 I love you. I'm paraphrasing, but point being, your character can choose, I love you, and then the other character freaks out, and then you go, just kidding. I was like, come on, you can have a lesbian couple be all prominent, but a gay couple, no, 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 no. You can't have that yet. We're still not ready for gay couples. Still. This came out in 2017, by the way. So I found that to be like a little bit of oh, come on. Oh well. It's not that big of a deal, honestly. I just found it a bit of a point to talk about. Anyway, you have other characters like Chaitose, who goes through his character arc. You have the older brother, you have the younger sister. We deal with the older brother next in his character arc, and then we end with the younger sister. And again, that hacker's memory comes back into full effect. So, the game ends with a bittersweet ending, and that's very on brand for Digimon, I must say. So, it turns out that she fuses with her Wormmon after them connecting on a personal level after various things have happened, and this allows them the strength to fight the oncoming presence of these things called Eaters, which were also present in the first game. So you're dealing with them throughout the game, at least at the beginning and end of it, and dealing with those has them evolve, and they seem to be a very data-based, just consume thing, move on to next thing, look and observe, follow that, thing, learn from it, copy it, uh, do what it does. That seems to be the basic function of it. So she was talking about how she was being homesick, so the creature itself was trying to find its home, but its home was not here, so it was trying to erode the world that it was currently in, which was the digital world, and then, spread into the human world, so the human world was at risk. So all the hacker warriors come at the very end. The younger sister fuses with her Digimon, and she says that in order to affect this, in order to end this, to essentially hold this thing back to the point of sacrificing her memories for more time on everyone else's clocks. So she sacrifices her memories of her for everyone else to have a chance. And the only person who seems to have a fragment of a memory is indeed the main character. And at the end of the game, and I think it was only at the end of the game, we actually hear the protagonist speak. And that's why I think they just stuck with a male character. And I think they didn't want to hire another female actress, unfortunately. It is unfortunate, but, the cast is a pretty big cast. You have, the characters that we are following, and every Digimon has a voice. So, I'm not sure if certain Digimon share a voice actor. I'm pretty sure that's probably how it still works. Because from what I can recall, in particular in Japanese, the Digimon are all, shared by voice actors. And I think that's how it works here. But there are 200 Digimon, so that's still a lot of work. And I don't know how many voice actors that is. So I don't know if they wanted to hire in another person to do that, but it's a very minor thing at most, like 1 or 2 lines I think it was at the end of the game, talking about how he's struggling to remember the fragment, moving on, how memories affect us, and so on and so forth. Pretty advantageous, and pretty low for the sister character. She goes out with an unfortunate bang, if it were. So I think the story is really, really solid. Again, with every character having a character arc, you kind of going through all of that. There are bits that have a very Japanese flair to it, that is very much shared with the first game, particularly when it comes time to eating. That seems to be a very trendy thing for Japan, is talking about food and specifying how delicious food is. There are bits of that as well, sprinkled in here and there. Other bits as well, with all the different main quests that you can go through, whether side or main quest. So, I would give the story an 8 out of 10. I think this story is pretty damn well solid. In fact, I would argue that the story here is either as solid or a bit more solid. I think I would say as solid as the first game. So there is that. So, that's the story parts. Let's talk about the gameplay. So the gameplay is a classic RPG with a turn-based system in tow. And as I mentioned, it has a very rock, paper, scissors base to it. The the game will specify that as you target an enemy, it will either show a blue ring, which means you will do less damage, a white ring, which is normal damage, or a red ring, which means you have the advantage, to an attack. Furthermore, to get your Digimon to become stronger, there's this thing at the bottom called ABI, and the way to get that to go up is by Digivolving your Digimon a lot. I find it better to Digivolve your Digimon from Rookie to Champion and right back to Champion to Rookie, instead of waiting continuously. So there is a bit of a grind to the game as well. If you want those higher end Digimon, there's going to be a lot of Digivolving and then Digivolving. And again, I would, if you have not played the game and wish to and want to get through it a little bit with a little bit more of a solid flair, again, Digivolving from Rookie to Champion and Champion to Rookie faster seems to be a more effective way of getting that to go up. The other thing to look out for is a thing called CAM, C-A-M, and this goes up by feeding your Digimon in the little digital bank that you gain access through when you go to the Digital Worlds version of that. They have a little digital farm, you feed your Digimon chickens, your CAM go up. I believe the ABI goes up to 200% and the CAM goes up to 100%. If either that or it's vice versa. Either way, just keep going at it until it's the maximum, and then, finish. For maximum Digimon power, because every time you do it, every time that number is higher, your Digimon will have better stats. So that's just something to keep track of. As you progress through the game, there are different hacker abilities that you can gain through having certain Digimon. And the way you can get certain Digimon is by fighting them over and over again and waiting until they get to 100% data scan. Once you're fully scanned, you can go to that digital bank storage area, scan the egg out, and then you have that Digimon. Once you do, the number goes back to 0, regardless of what it was before, whether it was at 100 or 200%. And then you train that Digimon. And as you progress through the game, you get more hacker abilities. And having, again, certain Digimon will gain you access to more of those Digimon abilities. So, the recommended thing to have is at least one virus, one vaccine, one data, and one, I guess, blank, or normal type. There are a few normal types you can get throughout the game. I think they're the least of them, but there are still, some. So at least having the bare minimum of one each, I think you have to have, at the bare minimum, at least 5 Digimon. Collecting Digimon will probably come more and more natural. The game will, tell you that you need it. In the little hackers, guide, your stats, it'll tell you, this hacker ability needs this. So if you're ever lost, it tells you how many Digimon you need and what type you actually need it with. So the game holds your hand pretty well in certain areas. In fact, if you are ever lost in the game, you can always go to that digital bank area and talk to the lady there. Her name is Marie. She will always give you guiding locations as to where to go if you are ever lost in the game. So the game will always guide you, but you have to sort of get to it. You can beat the game probably without ever talking to her if you know exactly what you're doing. But if you're new to the game, I would recommend probably talking to her if you're ever lost on what to do. I've definitely done it because I forgot what I was doing from the last time, so it's very effective for Let's Players too. Be like, oh, what was I doing last time? Oh yeah, I was doing this. So very effective on that front. The game's pretty much straightforward from there. There are plenty of story quests, plenty of side quests as well, from finding items to fighting tamers, which is just fighting their Digimon. There's a tournament which you can find more Digimon to fight. You can play online. I'm not sure if anyone still plays this game online, but because I haven't tried that a little bit yet. But nonetheless, that aside, this game's really fun. The gameplay is really solid through and through. More Digimon to unlock from the first one. So I would also give the gameplay an 8 out of 10. Also really solid. So, if you are not a fan of Digimon, and if you're kind of curious, if you've ever been wondering, is Digimon really good? I would actually recommend, if it's on sale or whatever, I'm pretty sure it's pretty cheap by now, buy Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth, the first one, and then, if you're feeling risque, but, I don't know, if you're feeling up to it, also get yourself Hacker's Memory, because this game's really good. It's really freaking good. It's a really solid RPG through and through. If you want to see, and if you have not seen my gameplay yet, I will link in the description. It'll be the first link at the top. It'll link you to the first part of the game, of the Let's Play for this, my Let's Play. And you can check it out, see if you like what you see, and then decide whether or not you want to buy it for yourself from that point. I would say check out the first part, and if you're interested from there, purchase it, and then, wait to beat the game yourself and then continue the Let's Play. I would, say no spoilers, even though I completely spoiled the story. So, spoiler alert, it will be in the title, so I kind of came late with that. Anyways, if you ended up enjoying this review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, make sure to check out the links in the description. One will head you over to my Discord, the other to my Patreon page, and the first will leave you to the first part of the Let's Play. Anyways, the Patreon, any donations to that will be desperately needed. So, with that, until next, everyone, bye-bye.